What is going on, everybody? Justin Thomas here with the first official segment of the midweek breakdown. I just want to say right away, really quick, everything is new about this. This is kind of a test run, so everything from the name of this segment to the name of the topics that we're talking about to the actual air date of this are subject to change. But full disclosure, disclosed, let's get on to it and let's move on to the midweek breakdown. All right, so basically what we're going to be doing is going through a few different types of segments. We're going to be talking about industry news. We're going to be talking about everything that happened in film and television in the last week. We're also going to be talking about some things that happened in the weeks ahead, but we're also going to be discussing some Q&As from you guys. I've just started a thread, so it's just out there right now. We won't be doing it for the first segment, but all you got to do is put hashtag AskJTShow on Twitter, Facebook, or technically anything that you can put a hashtag on. And these can be questions, ideas for segments, topics that you guys want to hear about, shows you want to hear about, anything you want to know. We're going to be talking about everything from a big network, Sunday night juggernauts that are on every Sunday, and we'll be talking about Netflix, we'll be talking about film, we'll be talking about just fandom news, and just having a good time in general. Just trying to feel out what you guys want to know about so we can put it into the show. So that's hashtag AskJTShow on any social network platform that allows you to put a hashtag. So we're kicking this off in a real positive manner. This is a segment that I'm calling Feel Good Fandom News. It's always going to be something positive, something that brings a little bit of joy to our lives in a time that I know we could all use a little bit more joy. So the first story we're going to talk about is a story about a young 10-year-old comic enthusiast. He runs a blog called Carl's Comics. Now, this Carl is more than just a comic enthusiast and a up-and-comer blogger who actually gets Marvel and DC content creators to come on and do interviews on his blog with him. He's also a patriot and a real charitable young man. So what makes Carl such a patriot and such a charitable young man? Well, I'll tell you what. He donated 3,000 copies of his prized comic collection, not extras, 8 long boxes that he packed into a car to deployed U.S. military. I guess Carl first got the idea from Jennifer Myers, who's a follower of his blog and happens to work for the Department of Veteran Affairs. He discussed it over with his father, and they decided it'd be a good idea. So they arranged to go to New Jersey's Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst. It's near Trenton, New Jersey. And when Carl and his father got there to deliver the comics, they didn't expect a huge, warm welcoming or any big affair, but they ended up getting a very great experience in the time of Carl's life, as he describes it in his blog. I'll link the full story below, but it's a really heartwarming story, and it's really cool because those troops definitely need something to read over there and they're starved for media, and we can only imagine what we go through here when we're in between seasons of Game of Thrones. So when I think about the troops over there not having anything, this really warms my heart. So way to go, Carl. Again, it definitely puts things into perspective for you and makes you realize how lucky we are, and we should definitely do as much as we can for our troops, especially when there's a 10-year-old that is running a very successful blog that's over there just getting things done. Way to go, Carl. Way to get things done. Make sure to check the link out and make sure to follow him. It's actually got some pretty good articles. So the kid really knows his stuff. Moving on to our next segment, which is called Off Screen But Not Off Our Minds. Now, this is going to be focused on shows like Game of Thrones and Westworld. Those are the ones we're talking about today. These are shows that are not on the air right now. They're on hiatus. Sometimes we'll talk about shows that are in production, but they're just shows that we love that are not on the screen right now, but again, they're still on our mind. So today we'll be doing Westworld and Game of Thrones news. So first off, Westworld. As I said in the actual promotion video for this, or the announcement video, I am deeply involved in the Westworld community. I run the Westworld Amino, amongst some other things, so I'll leave some links below if you guys want to join that. If you guys are in the Westworld, especially if you're content creators that are looking to create content for Westworld, I definitely can help you out, and we love good content on our site, so I can definitely feature you and get you a little bit of exposure, stuff like that. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about what's going on with Westworld right now. The latest news is they're not going to be starting off season 2 where they left off, and this, I guess, is a spoiler for anybody that hasn't watched season 1. If you haven't watched season 1, stop watching now. We'll leave a little timestamp in the box below, if I remember. All right, so if you haven't seen season 1, you shouldn't be listening by now, but season 1, as we all know that should be watching, has ended in what looked like it was going to be like the host apocalypse. They look like they're about to take out every member of the board and human that was within reach, but they are not going to be starting off right where they left off. It's going to start off quite a bit down. A good amount of time is going to pass, and we are going to get to see what happened, but it's going to be in the form of flashbacks. The creators have also said that they're going to be focusing on the anatomies, if that's the correct word, for lack of a better word, of the hosts and how they're made up, what makes them tick, what literally makes them tick. Because as we saw in the first season, they have a certain amount of blood that they're programmed to shut down after losing, but they technically don't need that blood. They just shut down because for like the realism, for the immersion. So they actually are going to show like the ways that they can actually be like permanently shut down, damaged, killed, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to get into like the biology of them, and learn a little bit more about what makes them tick and their weaknesses and strengths. And another big thing is Jimmy Simpson, who played young William, the young man in black, has been making some pretty interesting comments lately in some pretty interesting areas. He did this about 2 months ago, first in a GQ fashion interview that had nothing to do with Westworld, but he brought it up. He made sure to bring it up, and I talked about this before in a podcast a long time ago, but I didn't know. I mean, I guess it's a smart ploy if he's just kind of trolling everybody or kind of, pressuring the creators to bring him back, because he is implying that Jimmy's story isn't necessarily done. And I have stated this before, that I definitely thought that was one of the biggest problems with season 1, is the just overall disappointment of the outcome of Jimmy and Dolores's and the Man in Black storyline. That I think it really it went way too much for shock, and there was a lot of substance that got sacrificed during that. So just for the sake of the big shock, which by episode 2, most of us had figured out anyways. But the point is, the transition wasn't too smooth. It was just, he became evil in a matter of, I guess, a day or a week. But I guess Jimmy Simpson has really been implying that we are going to get to witness more of young Jimmy. And it's a little confusing to me, because it seems like he should know if he has a contract with them or not, what his current situation is with Westworld, because he keeps stating he doesn't know if there's anything in store for him for season 2. And I definitely know that the people that are in season 2 have been receiving, not a lot, but they have been receiving scripts, and they have been receiving, a little bit of information about when things are going to start going and where things are going. So it's a little bit interesting to hear this, and I'm going to link this video below, and you guys can kind of decide for yourself if you think that he is just kind of either trolling us, or if he is kind of just, stoking the fires and maybe trying to get a large amount of us fans to really root for him coming back and pressure Nolan and enjoy. I don't know if that would really work, but I really like Jimmy Simpson, and I think it'd be great for him to come back if they did it correctly. So it's very interesting, and like I said, I don't think that he would be making these comments just from a professional standpoint if he didn't have some type of open-ended contract. At least if he was completely done and off the payroll, off everything, not in talks at all with anybody in production, I doubt he'd be making these comments, because it's just really unprofessional if he were to be, especially because this is kind of the role that set him apart, other than like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he played a weirdo, and House of Cards, where he played a weirdo. He played a leading man, and did it damn well. So yeah, I'm all for Jimmy Simpson coming back. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this video that I'm going to show you below. Watch it. I'll do the article that you put in GQ too, and kind of, make up your own minds and get back to me, because this is a conversation, remember. So next up is Game of Thrones news. We've been getting quite a bit of that lately. It is coming up sooner and sooner. I'm getting hyped. And we just heard about the 4 groups of writers and producers that are set to put into development 4 different series. Not all that'll be necessarily greenlit, and I got a blog talking about that to check out below. But 4 different sets of series that will be considered for some of these spin-offs, and they're going for a prequel. They're not looking to expand on anything from the characters that we see right now. So other than that, we got some pretty big news. I don't know if I can put a drum roll in here. Well, I know I can. I don't know if I will. But a little bit of anticipation here, and we've got a release date, people. We've got a freaking release date, and it is for... It's not for Winds of Winter. It's very, very frustrating, but it is not for Winds of Winter. It is for a anthology series that George is one of the many writers that have written a short story for this. And this book is called A Book of Swords, and it will release on October 9th of this year. All right, so we got a big segment coming up right now, and this is called Sunday Night Juggernauts. I'll probably get some theme music for this, but this is going to go over all the big Sunday night shows, for instance, ones that aren't on right now, but just as an example, Walking Dead, Westworld, Game of Thrones, so on. But the ones we're talking about this week are two good ones, one way better than the other, but two interesting ones. Up first, we've got American Gods, which has debuted on Starz. It's just finished its second episode this past Sunday, so we're going to give that a quick review and recap. I'll give you my feelings, whether I recommend it or not, and of course, as always, I will be linking all the information below so you guys can make up your own mind. And the second one is something I was highly looking forward to, and I've been a little bit disappointed, but we're going to talk about it. It's also a Starz show. It is a sequel of sorts. It is a miniseries called The White Princess. It is taking place after The White Queen, which was on about 2 to 3 years ago, which I really enjoyed. These are all Philippa Gregory book adaptations, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'll tell you whether I recommend it or not. So we'll do 2 to 3 of these a week, and they'll change, obviously, and the shows, once they go into hiatus, we'll just move into the off-screen but not off our minds segment. So hopefully it'll work out quite nice. So let's jump into it. So American Gods, based off the book series by the English writer Neil Gaiman, which he won quite a few awards for this series. It's about 10 years old. It's highly respected. It's been highly anticipated. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of it. If you want to go in completely cold, it's only been 2 episodes. I'll leave a timestamp for when I end this review, but again, it won't be too in-depth. I'm just going to tell you the premise and whether I would recommend watching it or not. So it is an odd mix of Americana, fantasy, and ancient and modern mythology. This tackles the issues of deities, gods. These gods, both old and new, old meaning like Odin, Easter, Ansi, and then new gods are everything from the media god to the tech god to the drug god. And if that doesn't make sense to you, that's because the gods are portrayed in this story as anything that people worship. So people worship the media, they worship technology, obviously. So in how much they get worshipped is how strong they are. So it's kind of a war of the gods. It is a story about how the old gods came to America. The first 2 episodes start off with the coming of Odin to the Americas, and then the coming of the African deity Ansi to America. And it's done beautifully. It's visually stunning. Ian McShane is in it. He plays Odin, Mr. Wednesday. The Scandinavian pronunciation of Wednesday is like Woden. So that's where that comes from. You guys know Thor. You guys know Vikings. You know who Odin is. And it's got a lot of good actors in it. Main protagonist, his character's name is Shadow, and it is Ricky White plays him. I have not seen the 100, but I guess he was in that for about 2 years. So he's a little weak, but also this man is acting next to Ian McShane almost exclusively, so it's a little bit rough. A bit of gratuitous sex in it, but this is a big thing with Starz. In Starz, I've been loving the evolution of Starz. You look at Spartacus 10 years ago, and you look at Black Sails that ended a few weeks ago, and watch the progression of this network. I'm really happy they got this project. It is in no way an easy project to translate to the screen. It is definitely something that is going to be a uphill battle, but it seems like they're doing really good with it so far. Just a little bit of weak acting from one of the main characters, but again, he's next to Ian McShane, so you almost have to have like a clone of Ian McShane next to him to make the other person not look like an asshole. So and the gratuitous sex is something bad. It's something too bad, but it's kind of like a Starz like staple. They kind of forced that into the first few episodes having Black Sails too, and that was one of the critiques. Oh, too much gratuitous sex, but what I guess maybe they just have some sleazy executives over there. So it is interesting. It is a story about old versus new. It's got some pretty interesting themes, some controversial stuff. It's really relevant to society today, so you should give it a watch. Another thing I'm going to recommend, I'm going to do this whenever it's appropriate, is I'm going to recommend companion casts or other YouTube content creators for shows that I don't plan on doing deep dives on. I plan on talking about American Gods and from this point on, I'll be doing just quick recaps of the episodes. I just want to give a quick introduction, and whether or not I just suggest you guys go watch it or not, since it's the first segment of this. But I recommend a really good group of podcasters, Shat on TV guys. Also, they do Shat on the movies. They're doing American Gods. I would definitely recommend, and like I said, I'm acquaintances with them. They're good people, and no way do I receive any type of income from them. This is just an honest suggestion for you guys, and I think this is one of those shows that you can really benefit from having a companion cast like the cast that the Shat on TV guys put on. They do 2 to 3 casts a week. One of them is a breakdown, another one is expectations, and one is always what they call the confessional. For this series in Westworld, it was the Telegraph, meaning this is where they take viewer email and they go over all of them and they answer them all. I'm going to leave the link below. I recommend that you watch this show with their podcast for sure. And yeah, definitely watch it. Definitely give it a watch. So, and let me know what you guys think. For next series, we'll cover really quick for Sunday Night Juggernauts. Is not as much of a juggernaut as American Gods, but it is it's definitely something I was really looking forward to, even though it's a little bit embarrassing. But it's The White Princess, and they're miniseries. They're both based off of Philippa Gregory books. And The White Princess takes place right after the White Queen. It actually takes place literally 24 hours after. The White Queen all takes place during the War of the Roses in England. And the first series I liked a lot more than a lot of people. I'm already aware of that. I found it really enticing, but I am a historical fiction junkie. So I watched the Medicis on Netflix, and it's that is a complete dumpster fire. And I'll still watch I won't recommend it, but I'll watch it because it got renewed. I'll watch the second season. I got a little bit of an issue, so I was really looking forward to this. Like I said, the first one took place completely during the height of the War of the Roses. Very turbulent time in English history and a very interesting time. This takes place immediately after the Battle of Bosworth, where Henry VII, that is Henry VIII, the wife-killing Tudor, that is his dad. He took the crown. He's the last person to win the crown on the battlefield. From the scale of Vikings, which still, these are historical fiction. I don't by any means do not think Vikings is an accurate portrayal, but I consider it one of the better ones, and I consider the lowest to be Reign. And just above that would be the Medicis. On a scale from Reign to Vikings, I would definitely give this way closer to Reign. This is the end of the War of Roses, but this is the joining the houses. This is the making of the Tudor Rose. This is Henry's parents, Henry VII, the Tudors. The Tudors had a really loose claim to the throne, and that really, the one thing to do a good job of is portraying that. They don't do it in the best way, but at least they make it known that they had a loose claim to the throne. So I talked about it in another podcast. You guys can go check that out. But yeah, I would say watch American Gods, and if you really like historical fiction like I do, go ahead and give The White Princess a watch. But I wouldn't recommend it. So we'll have a different one for the next Sunday Night Juggernaut, because it is not qualifying as a juggernaut whatsoever. So next we are moving on to Chill Shows, The Thrill. This is a segment where I discuss some of the shows that are a little bit less intense. Other shows like American Gods, you don't really want to miss a scene, and you definitely don't want to miss a half an episode or a full episode, because you need to go rewatch that shit. But these are shows that are just fun to watch, chill. We're gonna be doing Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Crashing. This week we have one of my favorites, Silicon Valley on HBO. I consider it a Sunday Night Juggernaut, but we're putting it in the Chill Shows at Thrill, and it's really, really good. And it's created by Mike Judge, but it has a really good cast. This cast includes TJ Miller, who is hilarious. He really reinvents the pothead. This is your classic stoner portrayal, but it's totally modernized, and it's really well done. And then you have Thomas Middleditch, probably pronounced that incorrectly. You might have seen him if you watch a lot of YouTube. You see him on Funny or Die a lot. You used to see him on College Humor. He is in the Samsung commercials, but he plays Richard Hendricks, the main protagonist. And it's a group of 6 guys that live in a house owned by TJ Miller, which he calls an incubator, and he owns 10% of any projects that are made there. It's right in the Silicon Valley, and they're all app creators and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. It's got some really cool tech stuff in it, but it's also just it's really well done. This supporting cast, it's also got Zach Woods, who plays this hilariously awkward but caring, kind of a puppy dog character. And from his other roles, you might recognize him as Gabe Gabe from The Office, if you remember that. And it's just one of those funny ass shows that you can sit back and watch and relax and have a beer or do whatever you do. So I definitely recommend it. It just got renewed for another season. So in the next one that we're going to is Veep. Again, another show that in 2012, I think it premiered after True Blood. And at that time, I liked True Blood a lot. I will not deny it. But after True Blood, and I watched like the first 10 minutes of it, and I turned it off for some odd reason. I don't know why. Can't tell you why now, because I went back to it last summer around the same time I went to Silicon Valley when I got HBO Go. Binged it. Love it. Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays the vice president in the first season. She changes offices and positions and situations quite a bit, but she does a great job. And this is another one that has almost like a flawless supporting cast. You might recognize him from Arrested Development. It is Thomas Hale. He played Buster. And an actor that I'd never heard of before, Reed Scott, is Dan Hagen. This guy is hilarious. This guy is he's definitely one of the people that like a man's man would definitely appreciate. He is hilarious. He is just a narcissistic piece of shit, but it is funny in the context that it is in. So it's great. It's got a lot of surprise cameos from a lot of actors that you'll know, and it is just, it's a lot of like political, like Washington hijinks, but it's very funny. It's very dry humor because it is another one of those Americanized adaptations of a British show. I think the British show is called In the Thick of It, but it's really well done. It's dry humor and stuff like that, but it's just spot on. And then you rarely get a bad episode with that either, if ever. So these two shows are something that you guys can definitely watch. They're on right now. They both have had 3 episodes. And if you have HBO Go or On Demand or anything, just go, and if you haven't watched them, just go and binge it. They're awesome shows to binge. So Veep and Silicon Valley are definitely the chill thrill shows of the week. Make sure to check them out. We'll leave links for everything below. All right, moving on to Netflix Hot Picks, one of our last segments. In this segment, we will be doing a weekly breakdown of some of the highly anticipated series or releases that are going to be coming out on Netflix, as well as every once in a while a hidden gem, something I want to recommend for everybody that might not be getting as much attention as it might deserve. And this week, we are obviously talking about House of Cards. I love it. I've always loved it. It had like one subpar season. That's it. It's going to be really interesting this year. There's a lot of controversy right now after they released the first episode to some critics. I guess there was one, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's very odd in Hollywood to have a right-wing, especially Trump-supporting critic. They made a comment, 'cause I guess that this series is definitely going to mirror our political situation right now, and some people would say it's a good situation. And that's very optimistic, and it's very interesting. I would say there's some difficulties, but that's not for this cast, not for any cast. All that aside, it's definitely going to mirror some of the things that are happening right now. The creators actually did wait till Trump got sworn in to release the release date, May 30th. So it's coming out May 30th. The first episode's been screened, mostly positive. I don't know who it is, but one guy wasn't happy. But everybody else seems to think it's pretty interesting. I think come on, it's House of Cards. Frank, it's always been like, man, nobody could ever be like Frank Underwood. And I don't think that's still even, I'm not a big Trump fan, but I don't think he's Frank Underwood still. But they've always kind of played off of the current political atmosphere, and this isn't anything surprising. It might be a lot more direct, but hey, when you act a certain way, you get certain treatment, so whatever. A hidden gem for this week is going to be The Last Kingdom. They released the second season. I was lucky enough to have a service over here, even in America, where I could watch it as it aired. I've been a fan. I never read the books. It's a book series. If you're a Vikings fan, this is something you're going to really like. In some ways, it's more realistic than Vikings, and in some ways, it's way sillier. It's got a lot going for it, so I definitely, if you guys are into Vikings, and you're looking for something to watch, and so even if you're into Game of Thrones or anything, give it a chance. The Last Kingdom, so a lot of action in it. The fighting's pretty good. Storyline's pretty good. Like I said, some aspects are way more realistic and some things are just silly, but hey, you can't win them all. So it's definitely worth a watch, especially for if you're sitting for like the 19th time watching Game of Thrones or Vikings. Watch something new. Check out The Last Kingdom. So yeah, that'll do it for Netflix hot picks. We don't have too much. I'm going to put all the trailers and all the articles for House of Cards in the description box below. It'll be with everything else down there. One of our last segments that is currently called Movies Worth Leaving the House For. It means exactly what it means. It's movies that I'll be suggesting that I think are going to be something that you're going to want to see, something that you're going to want to not stream, or movies that you're going to actually want to go see in a theater. 2 upcoming movies this week are going to be Dunkirk. That one's a little bit more off. It's June 21st that it's coming out. But they just released a new theatrical trailer that I'm providing in the links below, and it's just excellent. Dunkirk, I'm a big history buff, so Dunkirk is very tragic, but it's a very interesting event, and I recommend you look into the actual history of it. This is a Christopher Nolan film. Most of you guys that are watching this are Nolan fans. I'm a huge Nolan fan. He knows what he's doing. So it's got a great cast, and I'll be having some news on that coming up. But right now, June 21st, and I'm putting that trailer in the information below. It's just so good. The other one is going to be King Arthur, actually. It's a Guy Ritchie film. And I'm a huge Snatch fan. Guy Ritchie's a really interesting guy, really interesting filmmaker, and he's got a certain flavor to his movies that are just, it's just not like anything else. So Charlie Hume, who is Jax from Sons of Anarchy, is in it. He got into pretty good shape for this and threatened to fight anybody else for the role when Guy Ritchie didn't want to give it to him originally. I'm excited to see him in a feature film. I'm glad he dodged a bullet over there with the 50 Shades Grey or whatever that crap is. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's gonna be different. It is a little bit risky. If you guys have seen Snatch, he has a certain style, and even the Sherlock Holmes movies. But the way he does combat, very knowledgeable in combat. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a pretty proficient boxer, and a pretty interesting guy all around. Just a Guy Ritchie fan. So Chris Nolan and Guy Ritchie movies are coming out. I'm pumped. Wonder Woman will be coming out on June 2nd, so I'm going to give it a chance. And the last theatrical trailer for that I'm going to put in the information below, just like all the great links I put below. So again, I am Justin Thomas. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to put your questions, comments, topic suggestions. Like I said, everything is subject to change here. I am just working on getting it together the best I can and putting together a show for you that'll get better and better every week. And make sure to, put your comments, and make sure to just put hashtag AskJTShow right after them on any social media platform, preferably Twitter and Facebook. But, let me know what you guys think. And make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, and I will see you guys in a few.